Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Good evening. This is some hot TFTV action. This is going to be our season 38 upper bracket finals. nerdRage versus Faint Gaming. This is going to be deciding who punches their ticket into the grand finals of this season, so a lot to play for. I'm, of course, eepily joined with Harris on production, and making his epic return to casting, it's my boy Eemes.
Hello, eepily. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to this best of 3 series. I think we got, obviously, they are the top 2 seeds of the season. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of interesting results throughout the last couple of seasons between a lot of these players. I think it's gonna be really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so much history between all of these players, really. I mean, just going back 2 seasons, we saw in the grand final of season 36, it was almost all of these players, but on different, completely mixed up teams. So we had Josh, Elakor, Kunu, and Yeehor all on a team together. Versus Nubby, Seeds, and Nasboy, and now the whole thing is more or less turned around. Obviously, not Elakor playing in this one, but Elakor will be facing whichever team loses this. So you've got the incestuous nature of the upper levels of the TF2 community, just very much in evidence. But it's very much it's going to be a game where all the players know each other very, very well, and so it's going to be down to which team is executing the best on the day.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've got, I believe, I'm just having a little look here. We've got some picks and bans we can run through if you so wish.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm just getting all these results up. It's very tricky for me to actually, pay attention to things. Here we go. Okay, so we have got our maps decided for the night. So started off with Faint banning Granary, into nerdRage banning Gullywash. First map picked by nerdRage was Snakewater. Faint then picked a spicy one in the form of Product. And then we had our decider ending up on Process. I think it was nerdRage banning Sunshine, Faint banning Metalworks. So either way, the maps we've ended up with is Snakewater first map, Product second, and Process third, which is some pretty spicy maps. I'm a big fan of the second map being Product, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very interesting pick from Faint, to be honest, because it has been strong for nerdRage, at least when we've played them on that map. They, in many ways, it's suited to their style because they really thrive in the chaos nerdRage, as we'll probably be seeing in many situations tonight. They like to, play off these very small advantages, play off, one person, let's say Nubby bombing in, making a distraction, and the rest of them capitalizing. And so the scrappy DM fights is really where they thrive, and that's very much a Product kind of style. So we'll see how, if Faint are going to be able to have enough structure and dealing with their aggression well enough to actually, do well against them on Product.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well because, it's not just, the storied history of the teams and the results and, the interesting map picks and everything like that. There's more info. There's more drama about this game. Faint is not playing with their full roster right now. They will not be playing with Yeehor tonight. Instead, they have, returning from, a brief retirement, they have Credu.
Yeah, the grand return for Credu. I think potentially he'll be playing next season, but we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously been out of the game for quite a long time, but I'm sure he'll be able to make some stuff happen. I don't think he lets his aim get too rusty, Credu.
No.
But although he does have fairly big shoes to fill in Yeehor, because he is a very key part of their roster. A lot of Faint's plays sort of rely on a decent amount of space being made by the soldiers, and then Yeehor coming in and doing a lot of work. So I mean, Credu's certainly got the aim to do that role, but the question is whether he has the synergy with Opti on the flank and the rest of the team making their plays to be able to really fulfill that quite important role for Faint.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like massive energy from the side of Faint picking. Like, their pick was Product, obviously like the biggest, most important map for scouts in TF2, and they're playing with a Merc scout, right? Like, the fact that they committed to that pick, I think, shows a lot about how comfortable they feel on that map. Like you say, Credu, undeniably, he's sick at aiming. He'll frag things. That's absolutely going to happen. But there's a lot to be said for, Yeehor is such a crucial player for that team. Do you think that's a little bit brave from the side of Faint, or do you think kind of Credu should be able to slot in just fine?
I don't think it's so much about Credu being able to slot in. I think that'll be all right, but I mean, I think they are in many ways playing to nerdRage's strengths. So, for instance, we saw nerdRage absolutely obliterate GCEU in the lower bracket, or the first game anyway, on product, with Kunu going something like 26 for 2. 2 deaths over 3 rounds, and I mean he was just playing it absolutely perfectly, never ever dying, playing these fights in a very slow and controlled way, never really leaving his med, and just even if he would take a lot of damage from the demo, he would never actually die and just soak it up and then go back in and kill players for weeks. So he clearly knows exactly what his role is on that map. And also, Nubby is pretty good on Sniper, which is very helpful to have your Roma able to just like throw in the mix up like that, which is obviously not a scout doing that, which is not really what you want, because you want your soldiers off glass and you want a scout staying on scout. So that's, there's two big, things that are potentially going to go very well for nerdRage on that map. So it's, I don't know, it doesn't. I suppose Feint are more thinking that they're going to be strong on it as opposed to nerdRage are going to be weak, but I still see it as somewhat risky.
Yeah, I'm just having a little look. I believe we've got a whole number of different stats. We've got some head-to-heads we can look at, Mr. Producer Man. Give me some numbers on the screen, so we've got some things to reference right here. Obviously, we've got a lot of interest in terms of our players. Let's see a scout comparison between our teams if we can. First, just a moment on that one. We're here. It's TFTV. It's Year of Our Lord 2021. We've got the production quality. We have the power.
Back in my day, we didn't have any of this.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think back at the beginning, you just have to hold a whiteboard up behind you or something and just hope for the best, believe in yourself. All right. Here we go.
So,
you can see.
Yeah, so this will be the matchup of the German scouts, both, of course, former teammates on many different German teams. But it's interesting because, well, Voxy is the pocket scout, Gazzy is the flank scout, so there's not going to be, quite a good comparison here. As of course you see Voxy, you see Gazzy getting twice as many caps, so that's kind of pointing to his role there. So it's not that. I mean, honestly, I don't know how helpful this stuff is to compare. We probably would want to compare like people in the same role at least, but. The two German scouts going head to head. I think that's the most interesting narrative here.
Yeah, you get to see who the alpha German is. Important to know, obviously, Gazzy, the only player there who's been getting air shots, no doubt, on the Pyro class. So, Voxy, please, I don't know, step it up, mate, or something. All right, I think we've got a Vanny Seeds comparison as well, which is definitely very, very interesting to look at. They obviously both, have been playing the game for years and years. Vanny's about as old as it gets in the world of TF2, but definitely both very, very crucial players within that team. From your experience, Eemes, obviously you actively played this season. What are your thoughts on these medics, Vanny and Seeds?
Well, I didn't really have much to do with them this season because I wasn't really ending up killing them very often because we were just losing. So, in terms of that, there's not too much for me to say. What I would point out is that, well, of course, Feint are being coached by Domo this season, and Domo is probably, well, he is, he's England's best medic, marginally edging out Seeds there, as he will be on the England team coming up in the Nations Cup. So he will probably be imparting some of his general knowledge about that to Vanny, so we can see that potentially reflected in Vanny doing well. Of course, though, Seeds does have very strong mechanics and is a core part of nerdRage, particularly, I think, in his heal distribution, which is very, very good. And it's very key to how they're able to stay in a lot of fights, even sometimes when they're down numbers. But they're able to stay in with him, making sure that the person that needs to get tanked is being tanked, and then people who are coming in can come in later, get a buff at the right time, and then they can stay in situations where ordinarily you would think they're 3v5, they have to leave, right? But they just don't leave. They soak up the damage, Seeds heals them perfectly, and they stay in. So this is one of their favorite things to do, really, is just to kind of disrespect you, but have the confidence that they're not going to die, and then win out in a long fight.
Definitely interesting stuff. You can enjoy the numbers on your screen. That's all good. All right, gonna get rid of that now. Gonna pretty move on to our first map a little bit. So it's the 10 players in the server ready to go. Actually, 2 more on spec, so we pretty much got everyone here. So like I said before, we will be starting off here on Snakewater. This will be the pick of nerdRage, I believe it was. I'm just going to double check that. Yep, absolutely was. So this is a nerdRage pick. This is obviously, first map of a best of 3 series. This is going to be, logically nerdRage's strongest opportunity to get a nice early map, start feeling a little bit comfortable, kind of, start their road to, I don't know, hopefully getting a 2-0 or something. Are you thinking that this is going to be, clearly in nerdRage's favor, or do you think actually this might be a little bit more even here, Eames?
No, not at all. I think it's actually going to go. It's going to go for Feint for this one and nerdRage for product. I think it's going to be one of those kind of weird playoff games where the picks get traded on opposite maps. Because, well, I mean, it's sort of just a hunch, really. But I feel like Feint have, well, in my experience, nerdRage have like okay mids on this map, but they're often relying very heavily on Nubby and Josh making very aggressive plays at the start, and then if that gets cleaned up, or it gets better yet, just gets ignored because they go behind, then you can just kind of get over into the team, get very aggressive on them, and completely destroy them. So the key basically for Feint on these mids will be able to recognize when when the soldiers have gone behind and aren't very useful anymore, and can therefore be left alone behind, and then you can just run forward and kill the team. So, I mean, obviously, it's still up in the air, this map, but I'm going to put it. We'll go for the predictions already. I'm going to say Feint are going to take this one 3-2.
3-2. That's honestly, it's absolute classic, like peak esports of just like anytime you get into a best three or any kind of series, they always swap maps. It always seems to happen. I don't know why. It just shows, the pick and ban system is broken. I have a little bit more faith in nerdRage. I feel like, they're gonna have something a little bit magic here. I feel like, when nerdRage does make it work, like you say, when they do get their soldiers in, they do, absolutely start, I don't know, that train rolling. They can just kind of take over games. I feel like there's always that opportunity. I was gonna invest. I was gonna talk about like star power and the form of nerdRage. Like, wow, they've got like Moralexi / Kunu, who's absolutely crazy pocket scout, and they've got Josh and Nubby. Actually, it's kind of 12 players who are like that in the server, so there's not even much point bringing up star power. Everyone's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 12 tip-top gamers in Prem here. I think the main thing to compare is not so much, who's better than who, but different play styles, general team approaches to things, which probably overall is Feint. Probably play more methodically. They're probably looking to win a fight by executing a certain plan, and taking a trade here, doing a setup, pressure play to get a force, that kind of thing. Whereas nerdRage, they're more spur of the moment. So they like to, they see what's happening and they will commit. Very often they will just commit regardless of what's happening and just assume it will work. So it's this very confident style, which can be great for them, but it can also be quite risky sometimes if Feint are good enough to hold off the first aggression and actually punish it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something which like it that kind of playstyle results in absolute fragging, like pure destruction against teams which are clearly worse than you.
Yes,
you get to just like swag around, just kind of do whatever. But then, once it becomes a little bit more even, suddenly, you can find yourself almost a little bit with kind of not a real response. Especially if you rely upon your team winning those kind of scrappy fights. Suddenly, if you can't win the scrappy fights, it's very difficult to force structure upon a team which doesn't necessarily play that way or hasn't been playing that way for the rest of the season. So, yeah, but it would make sense if obviously Feint are going to be aware of this as well, especially if they've got Domo coaching them as well. They'll be aware of how nerdRage are going. They should be able to counter strat at least a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it comes down to having the confidence just to realize that the enemy, let's say a Sully is bombing you as a demo, and you can either run back, be like, oh my god, holy shit, this guy is gonna he's going to destroy me. I need to surf away. I need to like get all the way out of there. Or you can be like, okay, I know that my scout is going to deny him and that guy's really feeding. So I'm going to run forward and destroy their combo instead of running back and like losing on my position. So it's having the faith in the rest of your team and doing things as a unit where to make the nerdRage aggression become actually a feed instead of just like, working.
Yeah. Yeah. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. I'm looking at our boys on the server. As per usual, we can never start exactly on time because it is TF2. This is just the world we live in. I think they're getting somewhere pretty close to reading up. I'll give my vague guess prediction in terms of scores as well. I think this will be nerdRage. You reckon 3-2 Feint. I reckon we're seeing more of like a 4-2 on nerdRage. I don't see a world where this is I don't know, a roll on either side. I don't see that really happening on really any of the maps tonight. I don't think we're going to see any 2-0, 3-0, 4-0 kind of maps here.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible that things get out of hand and people start tilting, but I think these teams are evenly matched enough that there's not going to be either one of them sort of feeling, oh my god, this is hopeless, and just giving up.
Yeah.
So, it could come to a critical moment where, they have to push and then they start losing a lot of rounds. So maybe that will happen. But I think for the most part, first 50 minutes, we're not expecting any rolls on either side.
Yeah, obviously for the extra little bit of context here, obviously being the upper bracket final and a double elimination format, the loser of this game is obviously, still very much in playoffs. The loser of this best of three will be playing top five, who did win against Global Clan yesterday. So they will still have the opportunity to make their way to the grand finals. This is all about kind of getting that nice, easy road where you can not so much relax, but not have to battle your way all the way to the top. Because obviously, losing here, like, you still got to go against top five, and top five is a scary team at the best of times. So it isn't like it isn't like this game's for nothing at all. It's definitely going to be much nicer punching that ticket all the way to the grand finals.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also a statement of intent, I mean, it shows, it puts you in a good mental state for the final. We would assume that if either of these teams gets knocked down, that they would beat top five, although it's no sure thing. But even if, they do get knocked down and come back up, it's a nice, like, mental marker of asserting your dominance over them, being ready, waiting for them. So I'm being asked whether the cast is ready, and I'm going to say yes. So it's probably 90 seconds to the start.
Oh,
I'm excited, eepily.
Beautiful. I'm feeling it. I just want to get this game started. I want to get things going. I want to start feeling the energy. Like, I think Snake's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be a nice position where we can kind of start going. I think going into Product second map is such a good pick because, like, I don't know about you, I love casting Product games, right? Because, well, it's obviously the game mode where time is massively important. There's no standing around and trying to work things out. People really get pushed to the edge. It's not even like there's so much people who can, like, really think things through. You've got to think on your feet at all times because wasting 30 seconds can be the difference between a won round and a lost round.
But the analysis, eepily. How am I supposed to analyze things at length if it's Product and there's action constantly?
I don't know, ask them to pause or something. Just be like, look, guys, I'm gonna need you to, like, I don't know. No one wins a mid fight. In fairness, we have seen our fair share of, like, double overtime, like, people, fighting up the point for like a minute and a half after the game's supposed to be ended and stuff like that. So you never know. Yeah, Might be one of those games.
I'll be ready to step in when you're out of breath from screaming after a 2-minute long fight, back and forth over the point. Looking forward to it, in fact.
It's all good. We did see yesterday a decent little bit of a crits out of the out of Trum, the stand-in medic for Global Clan. Apparently that was kind of mostly his decision making as opposed to kind of something which Global Clan have been relying upon or doing anything too consistently. So definitely hoping to see at least a little bit of crits tonight. Obviously, definitely not the safest of bets, but I feel like any time where Product is not quite going away and you need some kind of, like, trump card, crits on Viaduct is just fun. It's just fun, But this is gonna be it. All right. No more time for predictions. No more time for guessing. This is gonna be a game starting here. Upper bracket finals. This is gonna be Faint versus nerdRage here, starting off on Snakewater. We'll be watching these demos do the little roller as they always will. Like differences in terms of positioning, but speed's pretty much the same, so keeping things nice and chill. All about this big aggression. Which team going to be wanting to go deep on this one? We do see nerdRage playing pretty passive, pretty far back, but Soldiers just going for that long range spam, getting a nice little bit of damage, but not enough to get any frags. No one looking to get that big committal. There's some great high ground already. They're just waiting for these bombs. Hugo, that first bomb in, nice little direct, good damage towards the sky. He will get taken down. Nubby now on the counter. He's going to be going all the way down as well. Now, in good position by Faint towards the point. Not able to get these frags, not able to get this damage, not able to force these players back at all. Losing two. They're just going to back up here. That's a mid loss.
Yeah, that was a very interesting, very tentative mid from both teams there, but I think the deciding factor really is that Credu never ever in the whole mid got anywhere near the high ground, and so he's getting picked off at the end, but he didn't really have any ability to make a good contribution to that fight from a good position in that case.
Well, we are going to see both medics living, both teams having the Uber. Now we do see massive aggression from nerdRage going deep all the way towards grass, but they found that they couldn't quite take the position they wanted, couldn't quite go for the force they needed, so everyone's just going to be backing out. 6 players on each team now, keeping themselves alive, looking for any kind of opportunity. Obviously, on this mid to second kind of stalemate. Always feel like it's a little bit easier from the mid point of view. We do see Josh jumping in, Nubby with a follow-up as well, both playing towards his left-hand side and taking more position for their team, getting 2 frags. Credu and Hugo, their flag's been absolutely annihilated. Opti as well loses his life. This is absolute disaster. Fate, they've got it back all the way to last. Vanny even getting weak enough to have to hit the cabinet. So, nerdRage just moving all the way towards his left-hand side. Second big cap. Josh is already towards the point. This is going to be an Uber use. Yes. So early for Vanny. Josh is even going to almost escape with his life. He actually gets out through Shutter. No players from the side of nerdRage has gone down, and they have this full Uber.
Yeah, that was absolutely perfect play there from nerdRage. Coming back in right side with that Uber, going to go very deep. Max going to get caught. Kunu's already on point and then capped it out already, so that was absolutely huge. And going back all the way to second there, we saw Mac was not really able to do anything about the nerdRage push, which came in all the way through Saw there. They picked off the flank very easily, and it was just a coordinated aggression onto that cheese area with no buff on Opti either for him to fight them with. And, you know, it was just very ballsy play from nerdRage, and Mac in particular was unable to react to that quickly and efficiently as a demo and just completely caught out, basically.
That's a little bit of a disaster from an equal position to just pure chaos. So, nerdRage going to get that first round. This time, they want to be aggressive. Josh going for that deep bomb. Nubby as well. Great damage. Vanny, the first frag on this mid. Opti as well. Even trading these frags out right now. All important, keeping seeds alive. These soldiers are still going aggressive on the side of nerdRage. They're not wanting to play slow just yet. Now, though, they have player advantage, they have heal advantage, they have positional advantage, forcing out these remaining 2 Feint players. And they're just not going to get a look in this mid.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we see the slightly poor positioning from the Feint scouts there. I mean, both of them on the ground. It was a double high bomb from the soldiers of nerdRage, and Nasboy going over as well, with Kunu just sitting back with Seeds, but they got the aggression in, got the medic, and then it was just up to Seeds and Kunu to just clean up very slowly and easily, really. But Feint having the worst positioning on all of these mids so far. Both of them, rather.
Definitely not a great position to start off with here. And as well, this is going to be nerdRage just taking second completely for free. Huge Uber advantage, about 45% still. We do see Engineer and Sniper right now for defensive players. Actually going to be going towards heavy, but this is Uber all the way through lower now. Stickies are still towards point. They are just about dealing with this gun. Actually gets changed off. A decent position on the side of nerdRage. 80% on Vanny, so he will be getting this fairly soon. They will have to play just a little bit slow. The aggression, actually, it is going to be Nubby picking up Vanny now, so no Ubers to worry about. The rest of nerdRage using Nubby. Yeah, they will just back up. They will just play this advantage. It's possible for Feint to start moving forward, but with no buffs, it's going to be hard.
That was a really huge play there from Nubby to get onto Vanny. It was 85%, I think, when he died there. So just really nice by nerdRage. They picked up the roamer. It wasn't a brilliant Uber, but they stayed in. They weren't really too afraid. Knew that Vanny didn't quite have it yet. Just took a bit more roam and then sent in their flank to kill Vanny, which is pretty much what we saw in that mid, in fact. So clearly they've got a game plan at the moment, which is just singling out the med with their flank and getting onto him. As they do take this full ad pretty much into last here through the right side, it looks like.
Yep, right side is going to be where they go, forcing these players all the way towards the spawn. Gun still up on the left-hand side, sticking still towards point, so they can't play just yet. Eventually getting the gun now. No players are really playing near them to actually get fragged, and they're actually just going to lose Josh and just back up. Really just nowhere to go, and Hugo's on the backline, picking down Seeds.
Yeah, huge bomb there from Hugo to catch Seeds as he leaves. I think that Uber was absolutely tragic, really. I mean, Josh wasn't even involved in it. I don't know why he was still in lobby. Maybe he didn't realize that Vanny had gone down or something, but it was some miscommunication anyway. But Vanny will die to Ghazi on the flank. That's huge. I didn't see how that happened, but that's very poor from Feint there, really, to let their med die to that. I mean, this should have been a fairly easy transition with med down and one other player dead. So yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking for Feint. I could have made that push out pretty easily.
That is a little bit of a disaster now, and it's actually nerdRage wanting to force the issue. They're moving all the way towards lower, soldiers jumping deep. They're all taking so much damage, though. They're trying to force the issue, but with no Uber, there's actually not much they can do. Fantastic defense from Feint, getting these frags, getting themselves this big Uber advantage again. This time, I'm sure they'll be slightly more aware of Ghazi. Surely. He's upper lobby. He's trying to get in, and he gets Vanny again. Oh my god, the curse.
Yeah, I mean, really what we saw there was, it's a classic Pocket Scout tragedy. He was chasing Nubby all the way. He got a 5 damage kill on Nubby as he left through choke, which ended up being completely irrelevant because what mattered there was Ghazi coming in, killing his med. Creddy was not close enough to him, and Ghazi gets the play. Just recognizing that Nubby he looked like he was feeding, but he was making the space for his other player. So Voxy just getting completely outplayed there.
Little bit of a disaster there. Little bit of a disaster. So this will be nerdRage trying to go for this repush. Both soldiers going to be jumping in. There is actually Banner on their side of Feint, which is actually going to do quite a lot of work for them right now. They are trading out these players 2 for 2 right now. Looking pretty decent. The continuation to mid is going to be very, very hard. And all importantly, Seed's 95%. He's basically about to get his Uber. Spawner's up in 3 seconds. They can go for a repush pretty much whenever they want now.
And Matt could get caught here if nerdRage are fast, but he does have a good trap. He's not watching it though. He's let them walk past and it's going to get diffused. So they're putting up a little bit of resistance on second, but they're going to have to leave for last. But Vanny probably getting this unless nerdRage go extremely fast into last. So I expect now we'll see another of these famous nerdRage sacks where they do 2 or 3 and try and get onto Vanny somehow.
Yeah, there we go. Vanny's just ticking over to that 100% mark, so... Ooh, Nabi actually goes all the way into spawn! That is scary times, but with Vanny getting literally, like, I think it's about 10 meters inside the spawn. Yeah, not going to be anything too bad there. They do lose Mac, so there's no kind of, forward stickies or any worry about that, but he's going to spawn so quickly. It's, it basically doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, they're not really looking to sack anyone here. They could have had a go at sacking Hugo. I mean, they wouldn't have done Opti because he's on the banner still. So I do like this decision, that it's quite back and forth on last, and even if Vanny is getting killed every time they go through lobby, at least they did have that banner to retake second there. So, it's just going to be a little bit of a slowdown now as nerdRage try and think about how they're going to approach this. I'm going to expect they'll be doing another double sack fairly soon, but just taking the lobby pretty slowly right now with the sniper, in fact, with Nubby on train. So that's what they've opted for.
Yeah, it's all good. We do see Credu is basically the sniper main. Well, actually, no. I think Credu always described himself as a heavy main more than anything, but very, very proficient sniper as well. And of course, like you said, Nubby with his own sniping prowess. So decent little sniper 1v1s we can start witnessing. Obviously, we do see players pretty far forward. Credu goes to that DP and get taken down. So possible opportunity for the side of nerdRage. You can see Vanny playing on the bottom of these stairs. So possible for someone just to land directly on him. It's actually going to be Josh all the way jumping towards his left-hand side. They do manage to take down this gun. Josh incredibly weak. If he gets an arrow, though, and he does, he can keep on going. He goes all the way basically towards point. Actually starts the cast of all things. And they get the force. And they manage to just about get out.
Yep, just about. Although they have lost both scouts in this, it's going to be a little bit, a little bit queasy for them to get out without getting forced. The Nubby will kill Mac completely for free on the point, so they can just chill and choke here, and they can't really be pushed as the spawners are coming in. That's why he's going to take this very aggressively. In fact, Nubby gets the headshot, and Boxy will go down, so this is pretty tragic for Feint there, with absolutely no aggression happening onto the potentially vulnerable combo of only a demo and sniper there, but no, they're going to be heading into reload. But the issue for them, in fact, they're all the way in lower, and Vanny's going to get caught, so going down very, very quickly. And in fact, this is looking very good for nerdRage, who are coming in. Naspo's on the point right now. They've just taken left side. This should be very strong for them. Everyone going down, and Credu going to be the final one alive. But that was a very very slow transition from Feint. They should have realized that nerdRage were going quickly there, but they got completely caught with their pants down.
Definitely significant as well. Honestly, I thought that was just going to come down to, kind of point play. Just, obviously picking off Mac towards second. He had like a 20-second respawn, which is insane. No stickies on point, and Snake is very hard to hold. But turns out, yeah, Feint was just still holding a lot of their players just way too close. So 10 minutes in, 2 rounds up for nerdRage. Very comfortable on their own map pick from the looks of things. And they're going aggressive again. Soldiers landing directly onto Vanny. Does get a nice little surf, but Gazzy's going to get that frag. Position all towards the point. You can see how far back Seeds is. No one can get on him. He's basically all the way towards Saw at this point. He's going to be back into this place. He's going to be getting everyone healthy. And that is one thing which Feint very much isn't. Boxy is on the backhand. He tries to get directly onto him. But these dodges from Seeds eventually just about takes him down. And actually, Hugo with the follow-up.
Wow, that was a crazy flank there by Voxy, just making the room for his team to come back in and collapse on them. It's a 1v1 here, Hugo versus Gazzy. Gazzy extremely weak, but so is Hugo. Who's going to win this? Oh, and Hugo clutches it out there. Gazzy, no shots reloaded to take that. So it looked like a pretty tragic mid for Feint, having lost Vanny very early. But the thing is that both of their soldiers, Josh and Nubby, were all the way behind in Saw and weak, and Feint rightly recognized that they were not contributing to the fight, so could just run all the way forward, and with Voxy flanking, they could crush them there in Saw with pretty much no support from the Solis. So a nice read from Feint to counter the aggression that was almost looked so strong from nerdRage.
Definitely a huge mid for Hugo as well. Now we've seen Hugo do some pretty crazy things across the seasons, but definitely showing his best performance right now. We do see Mac going down to the sticky trap, so no demo on the defense, going to make this hard. Vanny, he does have this little bit of Uber advantage. He's on about 95%. It's actually Siege pushing all the way with the rest of his team onto mid right now. Vanny is going to get his Uber. Siege still about 19% off. They can go all the way across point. They're just about now actually going to be using here. They got to focus down these players. Siege 93%. He's somehow keeping himself alive. He does eventually go down. Cody getting that frag, but 3 more go the side of nerdRage. Now we're finding scrappy 1v1s, and Hugo can't do it this time. This is just Ghazi all the way. He wants to get this deep chase all the way towards Vanny. The spawning Opti. It's actually going to be just about not in time. I thought Vanny was going to bleed to death just then. I'll be real.
Yeah. And Borders helping Ghazi secure that frag, but wow, an absolutely crazy fight there on mid. I mean, Seeds, Feint knew that they had 20% ad, so they played off it correctly, but they were just not able to get Mac into that Uber to get some good frags. So it was very, very laborious chase and to finally get onto Seeds, who did die, but he wasted so many shots, so much time and health from Feint that the Uber was kind of tragic, even despite him going down at 99.
After all that chaos and drama and all this kind of stuff, this is going to be Feint with control of mid. This is going to be a pretty significant 50% disadvantage. These is just about going to get it now. Moving towards lower. See, the dream from their point of view is, either get some kind of deep jump and actually manage to catch Vanny. And actually, they will manage... they'll try to do exactly that. They get Mac the very first frag there. They get so much damage towards a Saw as well. Fredo is going to go down. Good position now has been taken. They know they can't really hard commit, but those 3 frags at the midpoint is definitely all that they need. There's now pretty significant spawns on the side of Feint. nerdRage, they're absolutely going to look to move towards second right now, and these hills have to be far back on the side of Vanny. They're playing towards this cheese position. They're just about getting this Uber. They want to play close. They want to play aggressive. They want to try and get these frags. They can get one in the form of Nasboy, but they just can't catch up to Seeds.
But they could get some frags on the flank here. In fact, no, they will get out, nerdRage, and Opti gets overextended there. So there was a chance there for them to get something out of that Uber, but the nerdRage got a pretty good read on it, as they will try and chase to mid, but it's pretty scrappy now, and at a significant disadvantage. They're going to have to leave second. They could set up for a forcer, but there's not really much else they can do, and it almost looked like a good play, but they... it was, I think, a nice sticky from Nasboy that spotted them all out in cheese, and so they got the perfect read. Seed's just about living, so that's nicely played by nerdRage.
Definitely exactly what they wanted. Hugo going to go for this deep bomb all the way towards Seeds. Gets 1 rocket. Gets a second. Actually, another player. Oh, Seeds. Single-digit HP from this spam. But he doesn't care. He's going to move all the way towards point. They still have 25% advantage. If they go immediately, it is a little bit possible. But Vanny's so close to getting this. Does look like they want to go towards the shutter. They're just walking all the way in. They've not even used through the shutter. This will be Vanny just about getting this. Already starting to play the point, and 2 frags down. This is the deep bomb from Nubby. He's going to get taken down as well. nerdRage are just like, we're out, mate. Not interested.
So a nice play from nerdRage. They're changing what looked like an Uber ad push into just a general sack, with Kunu just running all the way onto point and getting kind of baited by his med. But that was the plan. They are going to be setting up for a trade here on second, as Hugo does go very, very deep in, trying to get the frag onto Nasboy. There's some good damage on them, but Hugo will go down to a nice pipe, and now it's going to be a pretty good trade. Very favorable for nerdRage, as long as they can keep their scouts alive, with Kuna going in pretty aggressively, and the Uber is slightly better for nerdRage as well, and these players from Feint have absolutely no positioning formation to take this fight. It's very scrappy here, eepily.
Oh my god, somehow they're managing it. Opti's absolutely just pulled out the bag, getting 2 frags. Hugo as well, Mac got 1 as well, and this is actually just Seeds all the way towards grass by himself, and he's just going to kill bind. Because there's literally no point there. Absolutely no point. This feels like textbook. One of those situations, like you say, nerdRage, they expect to come forward and win these scrappy fights, but when it doesn't go their way, they just kind of fall to pieces.
Yeah, definitely. I think nerdRage ended up banking on Ghazi making the back cap there, but they probably could have just taken a 6v6 fight and won, as they got a frag early before that Uber, so they could have played a little bit, just less risky and taken the fight normally, but instead going for the hero play and having it backfire on them pretty hard.
We do see some goofy forward spawn shenanigans. We do see Alexion, Sniper, and Nubby on the spawn Pyro to actually air blast away any stickies or rockets or anything like that. But I mean, Vanny doesn't care. He's playing so much towards his left-hand side. This is... oh, that's so disappointing for Feint. Losing Mac from random pipes in lobby, surely that's going to put a stopper on this push.
Yeah, that's extremely tilting for Feint, to be honest. I mean, you know, it's a kind of situation where you're like, why are they even there in lobby? They shouldn't be doing this. We have ad. But Naspoy just disrespecting Mac, and Mac catches the pipes. So it's pretty unfortunate. They could have just gone lower and maybe caught them out, or Voxy could have taken it into them. But like, there was just not enough collective pressure on Naspoy, so he just stood in lobby and spammed to his heart's content, and completely stuffing that push, which is a real missed opportunity for Feint, as they do need to get back into this game 2-0 down with only 30 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know, it isn't getting to that scary time of like, you know, got to push all the time, but they need to make something work. Opti doesn't get aggressive towards his flank. He tries, does a lot of damage, doesn't even manage to take down Nubby. He just basically surfs away, doesn't care at all. Not even really a sack attempt, more just trying to peek and prod and get at least one kind of frag. But yeah, Feint really not piecing together what they need. We do see more Alexi on the sniper, playing towards his far right. Definitely a comfortable position on the side of nerdRage. They've got their sniper, they've got their gun, they've got like a banner being built, everything's looking pretty decent. They're even checking for any kind of off classes. Feint, on the other hand, they're just sticking cookie cutter. They've got to have some kind of better idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them send more than just one. I think they've got, you know, they've got plenty of time to break this, but they need to start picking up the pace now, getting some rounds on the board. So the sentry does go down, so this is a great opportunity to have maybe a double sack, maybe more than that. They could even send more players in and get on the point like nerdRage have been doing, as Hugo will go in, kind of a feed straight into the waiting arms of Josh, as Opti will get the sentry once again, but there's not really much else to be done for this, and it's kind of... I mean, Siege was in spawn when Hugo sacked, and he bombed with half HP onto a soldier, so there was never anything really going to happen from that one.
I mean, I've still got hope for something spicy. Opti running just the absolute Chad loadout. He's got the banner. He's got the buff banner direct here, actually. Only now have I realized how Chad it is. That is actually, like, honestly, people underestimate how ridiculous like the buff banner director is. Like that basically does 150 across the entire map as well. That's so stupid. It's actually broken.
Can one-shot a med from anywhere. And Opti, I mean, he also likes to go man-tread sometimes to get sacks onto players without being denied, which is pretty interesting. So very much an innovative player, bringing out his strats for where it counts, so it's pretty nice to see. The question is, well, it's going to be hard for him to get up enough spam as long as nerdRage don't walk into too many rockets, so that may take a while. As he does go in here onto Naspoy on the left, but he's going to get denied pretty hard by the sentry, and now Opti's going in, he's going to die, so the banner not really helping him at all in that situation. I guess they decided to switch off because he wasn't building it fast enough. I'm not sure, but yeah, a failed attempt there from Feint.
It's like another disaster again because Mac went down, so they can't hold these choke points. So actually, we saw Vanny get stuck all the way towards point because there's more Lexi sniper. They had to use the Uber just because they didn't want to drop it. And what do they get? They get Josh off of it. Basically, no one even really cares about that. And they've got to play fairly far back on grass, as is, you know, for fear of this possible sniper and Uber and all these kind of things. So pretty much just a disaster there from Feint. Now, nerdRage has pretty much everything they want. They'll have their players, you know, Josh up in 2 seconds. They'll have this big old Uber. There's a potential for some kind of, you know, weird back half attempt. But this should be just, I was going to say pretty standard for the side of nerdRage. Gazzy's still building a gun. They just ain't pushing. Oh,
yeah.
What is this bus parking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible idea. I think if they were really feeling themselves, they could go for it. But they're 2-0 down, 10 minutes left. They don't really need to, and it's not exactly a... You know, there's always a way you can mess up this particular push. So Feint would probably be quite glad if they decided to push out. So it's, you know, it's a conservative decision by nerdRage, but in the context of the game, it does make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, it isn't the most exciting play, but guess what? Sometimes you want to win. You just want to win, especially when they keep getting pick after pick. I feel like, I don't know, someone needs to do something about Naspoy. He just keeps getting, like, anytime anyone, like, enters or leaves the lobby, he seems to get a frag on someone on the side of Feint. And it's just, I don't know. It's really, really weird. Like, we've seen it before in games earlier on in the season and in the later part of last season, Mac getting caught out in really, really key situations. And it's an issue that seems to be cropping its head up this game as well. And it's really hurting Feint, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. They're just being kind of ground down this time. They're never really, you know, even these sacks that are happening, they're not really getting onto anyone. Whereas, you know, even when nerdRage earlier were failing sacks onto last, they were, you know, it almost looked like it was going to work, but they got denied, you know, just in time. Whereas these sacks have been pretty hopeless for the most part. They do decide to trade in through the left side. Naspoy will go down early. This could be pretty good for them if they get the force quick enough. As Seed will, in fact, use in spawn. and the gun has gone down, so they can be taking left side here. It's 5v5 though, so and Josh does have the conch, so it's looking amazing for Feint, but they could make something happen here.
Yeah, they're looking to go for a full commit. They're taking so much damage, so players are being tricked out. Big frag from Voxy towards this heavy. So that's going to be really significant. The heals, though, Vanny's not connected really with anyone. Not getting that beam. Only now does he get towards Voxy. And they're kind of caught towards his left-hand side. Mac only now getting connection to the beam, but then he goes down. This is Vanny basically leaving all the way. Hugo tries to go for the commit. The nice frags from Voxy. Actually, Voxy gets another, and they get another, and it's so close to being theirs, but they just about don't.
But Opti's in.
Nice damage.
And he does it. Wow. That was a crazy push. So we saw what was interesting about it was the spawners on both sides. So Nasboy came in and originally, you know, he spawned first, so he turned the fight back in the favor of nerdRage, but he didn't really do too much, and Mac made a pretty nice play very late in that fight, got a frag before going down, and then finally the Feint spawners came in, and it was just enough because they'd played the fight so well overall. So that was really nice, taking the opportunity by Feint, and I think the biggest throw in that fight was Nubby going for the med far too early when he should have just been going for frags.
That is definitely a great feeling for Feint now. Only one round in it, and they look energized right now, taking so much more position all the way towards point, all the way towards his left-hand side. Max still gonna be the first player down here. They do have a decent position. They managed to equalize things just a little bit, but without a demo, they don't really have that extended spam, and they're having to rotate their heals entirely all the way around Choke. You see the ridiculous high ground advantage right now. They're gonna be back now, and as Opti tries to go deep for Seeds. Not picking up that frag, though. It will be another lost mid for the side of Feint. And with those late deaths, it's going to be very difficult for them to do really anything on second. Mac just only now coming up towards the right-hand side of lobby. It would be brave to walk towards second right now, I'll be honest. Very brave.
Yeah, big decision for them to make here if they want to trade out. But Nasboy is very close, hasn't denied them too well, but they're both soldiers absolutely stuffing Mac in the door, so this is going to be pretty tragic if Feint try to push now. Mac very weak, in fact, in the left lobby. They could get a frag, though. Feint if but Joshua will be leaving lobby, I think, so a little bit scrappy there. They definitely want to take it back into second as quickly as they can, but Feint opting finally to head back out to last for now at least, but expect some kind of aggression pretty soon, as obviously 6 minutes left, 2-1 down. They need to make something happen now, eepily.
Yeah, they do. Credu is going to be on the sniper. It's the deep bomb from Nubby. So close for that second rocket. Like you said, though, already more successful than a lot of times Feint have tried to sack. And that was just from a random skip, but didn't work out this time. They're taking so much damage towards this lobby again. Nasboy's just being an absolute thorn in their side. Hugo does manage to get through Cheese. He tries to take some decent position. Voxy as well tries to commit. They manage to get Nasboy. They trade out 2 kills for it. And this is like another situation where it's like, well, it's something. They can't commit off that, though.
There's definitely an opportunity for nerdRage to make something happen here, as left side is pretty much free. Kuna's going to get all the space, and both scouts in all the way, getting some camp time already, so it's difficult for them, but Kuna going down very early, but in fact Seeds getting the perfect read on that, pretty much going to leave all the way. Nubby is still in sniper, but they've got the force which they wanted, and just baiting so much pressure onto cap there that Feint sort of panicking and having to pop pretty much immediately, and now nerdRage in a pretty nice position.
Yeah, this is pretty fantastic. Hugo does try and salvage this situation. I think he just gets body shot into the dirt. He was lucky actually to survive there at all, I'll be honest. But this is, this is just everything that nerdRage could possibly want right now. It looks like they may have, I think they tried to send Nubby back to change off, and then I just don't think, well, like, he actually held the door. So, a little bit sad. They don't quite have the classes they want, but the deep bomb from Nasboy immediately takes down Credu, and he's not stopping. He's jumping all the way towards right, and he's surfing around again. Everything's looking pretty good for them. They still need to commit to some of these frags, but they already have a 2-man advantage. They can look to start moving over point. Both these scouts, they need that beam. They need to start moving towards the point. The headshot rings out from Nubby, and nerdRage secures their 3rd round. 4 minutes 40 left on the clock. Feint really needs something again.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty tragic credit getting taken out. That I think they may not have been expecting such an aggressive Uber through left side, which was definitely the plan to catch people in spawn. Nasboy could have gotten Mac as well if he really hit his shots, but getting credit was pretty much enough. And then they could just regroup with their sniper on left side, and Nubby eventually killing Vanny at about 90%. So yeah, it's going to be really tough for Feint. They need to get back into this game right now with a really strong mid.
Yeah, this is it. And the mids haven't been going their way this time. Both the Feint soldiers going all the way towards Saw, and actually the entirety of the Feint team moving all the way towards left. They're basically all in the opposing saw, and actually trying to collapse on them basically all the way towards choke, and they're doing such a fantastic job of it. Credy on these backlines, he has 3 players to deal with, but it's actually the deep bomb from Mac. Great damage, and the stickies picking up Seeds, combining with Opti for Nobby as well. It's just Nasboy. He's already towards Lobby, but it's Credy on that flank who's going to pick him up. They did lose Vanny, though, but it's a much earlier spawn for him.
Yeah, and so we see, I mean, as with pretty much every one of these mids, nerdRage have one plan, which is to kill Vanny and then run away. But that strat only works if Seeds actually lives. And even though they were extremely passive, the chase was just so aggressive from Feint, who recognized that they had that numbers advantage and just went extremely deep, catching Seeds out with absolutely no fear because their med was already dead. So Vanny is just kind of being treated as just completely disposable by Feint, who don't really care in these mids, and it's working out for them right now, but they need to do something very quickly if they're going to get back into this by breaking this last hold.
Yeah, exactly. This is 3 minutes now. The biggest enemy for the side of Feint is the clock. They're trying to go towards the left, and they just get annihilated. They basically get in nowhere. Vanny just gets synced rockets to his face. Yeah, Hugo, Voxy, they're already down. The rest of these players basically have nothing. This is now getting to that point where Feint, they need magic. They need a back cap or some kind of crazy drop. And really, nerdRage, they don't actually have to do anything.
No, not really. They can just take second pretty calmly here. Nasboy jumping in to take some room. It's going to be both Solys bombing in by Feint, so they could make something happen here. Sees stuff at Uber, though, so he's just going to take it into Mac. Or, in fact, they're just going to clean up the frags on point with a cap going off there, so no back caps coming in. And, it's looking pretty hard for Feint right now, as they need to make something happen very, very quickly.
2 minutes 15 left on the clock. They have an Uber advantage. They have a player disadvantage. They're just already moving towards Saw. They know that there's no choice in the matter. This is just like, peak just all push all the time. nerdRage still showing them a decent amount of respect. You can see by how far back Seeds is. But, that is one frag. It is technically possible. The bomb from Mac does take some decent position towards point. That's a good start. 95% now on Vanny. This is an opportunity. This is still technically possible. Walking all the way through left without using it is fantastic. Gonna have to go all the way over point. Ghazi on his signature pyro will get cleaned up, though. All of these players now moving towards this point. The repush from the side of nerdRage is looking so much better. Those 3 frags already. Credy's desperately trying to get on point. He gets 1, but the Ubers come out. Oh, my days. Yeah, that's got to basically be it.
And it's all over. I mean, that Uber was looking pretty good, but Mac really needed to take it into them a lot more aggressively. He, Seeds was 80%-ish when they popped, so he had to go over and get, if not him, at least like 2 or 3 frags very aggressive into them. But he didn't. They tried to play the point and bait them into them, but Mac had to really stomp on the team there for Feint to win that push.
Well, that's it. 60 seconds left in the game. Even right now, if the entirety of nerdRage just stood there and killbound, it wouldn't be possible. So this is going to be nerdRage taking the first map, which was, of course, their pick as well. So clearly, pretty confident here in terms of their Snake Water play. And they will have this leading position going into our next map, which will be Product.
Yeah, definitely. nerdRage probably feeling pretty confident after this one. I'd say, well, I haven't seen the logs yet, but the main difference between the teams seems to be Seeds versus Vanny. In fact, very much contrary to what I said in the pregame in some ways, but Vanny was being hung out to dry on numerous mids, and these transitions out of last where he was dying to the flank were pretty poor, to be honest, and just constantly getting picked out by whether it was Ghazi or Nubby or even someone else sometimes, but he was always finding some way to die, and between Voxy and Credy, they were just not getting the reads on these aggressions onto Vanny, so he had a very tough time.
Yeah, definitely seemed like they were never able to be in that driver's seat. They were never able to, make, really build that momentum that makes playing the game so much easier. Everything was just a constant struggle against the side of nerdRage, and yeah, I'm gonna hope that isn't too telling for the rest of our series. But we can take a little look at some numbers, see what's going on off the top of your head. Who do you reckon's putting up the big frags that game?
Well, I'm afraid it's not off the top of my head because I've already looked.
Oh, you've ruined it.
But I was going to vaguely suggest that Credy was not having a huge impact. I didn't really see him doing much. Certainly no aggressive flank plays, and equally wasn't really cleaning people up when he was with the combo, and that's very much reflected in the logs. So, I mean, yeah, very, very difficult game for him, basically. I would usually, Yeho doesn't always get insane logs, but he's usually making something happen for his team, even if he's going behind and stuff. But I didn't really see Credy doing either of those. So, potentially, well, that's at least some comfort for Feint, because they can probably expect that if they do get knocked out here, or get knocked down here and then beat top 5 when their main man Yihor is back, they might play a little better, as obviously Credu not so used to his role in this team. But that said, I think it's more him not being used to the team rather than his aim, I presume, at least. So it could be a lot easier for him on product, where he basically just has to frag out.
Yeah, this is very true. Definitely, the roles and the way that the team plays, it's a very kind of specific thing, and you can easily find yourself kind of caught out a little bit. Whereas on Viaduct, I mean, the scout has to stand around, take beam, get frags, which I'm sure Credu can do in spades. That being said, it's never going to be easy against the opposing scouts. Obviously, Alexi and Gazzy both are pretty sick as well, so yeah, gonna be a little bit of a tricky one. Obviously, right now the pressure is on. This is the Feint pick, but then now they're very much in that position where they obviously they will need to win this one and then process the decider to actually be able to get through here. And I definitely feel like, like I said, because of the fact that obviously it's a Koth map, therefore there's no stopping, therefore all of the time is super, super important. It's very easy to feel hyper pressured, get stressed, and make little mistakes, especially if you're sat there being like, if we lose, one more round, we're out entirely, I think this might be quite a hard one for Feint.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be very important for them to get maybe a first round under their belt and, really feel themselves into the game. Whereas, they weren't terrible on this map, but they were a little bit disjointed. They weren't exactly having flowing aggression. And then most of that stemmed from Vanny getting caught out so many times, and so many weird situations as well. So I think they need to be able to get into their groove. If Nubby is getting denied when he goes for his big bombs onto the mid and his market gardeners and that kind of thing, then it could look pretty good for them. But I feel like they're going to be quite vulnerable to to things going well. They look like they're winning their fight, and then suddenly out of nowhere, because no one was paying attention, their med goes down, and then the wind goes up their sails, and they get a little bit tilted, maybe a little bit what can we do, this kind of thing. So
Yeah,
it's all going to be about their confidence, I think, in this one.
Yeah, definitely. Confidence comes into it, not just the individual play and the team play, but just there's definitely something to be said for momentum. And when you start getting things together and you're kind of feeling like you can just get round after round, feeling on top of the world, definitely makes a big difference in terms of the play style. And obviously, if nerdRage prefer these scrappier fights, when they take scrappier fights and then they win and they feel like they're going to continue winning, it's very taxing mentally to play against that, because it feels like you're just up against a little bit of a brick wall. That being said, like we did see, nerdRage from that little bit of stalemating, that little bit of parking the bus, they're not massively underestimating Feint. They are giving them a good amount of respect here. They're clearly aware of what Feint has to offer here, but they are utilizing some pretty key opportunities here. I guess it might just be a little bit on Feint just to try and give them fewer of those.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it is very smart from nerdRage. I mean, they still like to play within fights quite aggressively. They're doing these triple sacks and these somewhat unorthodox plays if you're not such an aggressive team, but they still recognize that doesn't mean they have to play risky in every scenario, so they don't actually have to push out if they don't want to, if there's 10 minutes left, which is a good decision, really, and similar things like this. So, playing it smart, they have their aggressive style and they know that, but they don't have to just play mindlessly either, so that's pretty good from them.
Calculated risks, you could say.
Yes.
All right, so it's Feint's pick. You predicted Feint getting map 1. Obviously, very much didn't go that way. What are you feeling in terms of product? Are you going to stick with your original guess that actually this might be a little bit more in the favor of nerdRage, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn my colors around and say that this one is going to be nerdRage, I think. Well, I guess that's, I did say they would win it at the beginning, but I think nerdRage are going to be taking this one because it was just a bit of a lackluster performance on that map from Feint, and I feel like nerdRage are feeling themselves. Yihor, a key player for Feint, and they might just be in their own heads a little bit about the fact that, we could beat them in the final, but we don't have our best player, and we're not really playing that well, so maybe it doesn't really matter anyway. So yeah, I don't think they'll give up necessarily, but I don't think they have the real fighting spirit that they might need to really make a dominant performance there.
Makes sense. I'd love to, just absolutely disagree and be like, no, your opinion makes absolutely no sense at all. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at how nerdRage is playing and how they like to play the game, I feel like this map should be favored towards them. That being said, there is a reason the Faint has picked this. Maybe they know more than both of us combined.
Maybe they just wanted to see my play-by-play.
Exactly. They're trying to keep it exciting for everyone.
Yup. So key, well, yeah, I think one big advantage. I mean, Opti can snipe decently, I think, but and Credit obviously is renowned as a sniper, but probably the best sniping configuration would be for nerdRage, putting Nubby on sniper and having both of their normal scouts on the scout, whereas you don't really. I mean, I don't think Opti's anywhere. Well, you would want Credit to snipe if you were Feint, really.
Yeah.
But Opti's not, of the same caliber as the rest of the scouts, so that might be a problem for them. But I don't expect either team will be sniping loads. I think both of them like to play it normally, but I think we will see. And probably, I expect Nubby will go snipe it occasionally. Like, I mean, we so recently saw, of course, big news in America with Froyo finally losing after many, many years to, well, in a cup at least. But one of those map was on product, and one of the players that were against was Jay, who is a very similar player to Nubby, with a meme spoon, with aggressive jumps, and also liking to play sniper. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nubby was sort of modelling himself after Jay a little bit in this particular map.
Yeah, definitely, it can be a fantastic position on Viaduct where, you win a mid-fight, you get uber advantage, everything's looking good, and then your soldier who, died early anyway in some crazy bomb, he comes up on a sniper, and then you can just basically stand there and just make things really annoying. That push up to point when you have an equal uber situation when there's a sniper looking at you, it's so hard, and so often, it'll just force these teams into having to use uber early, meaning that trade's kind of just terrible, and then they can't really commit anyone like forward or behind, and they just kind of get like nuked in a corner. Definitely quite an awful position to be in sometimes, and it feels like, nerdRage doesn't have to rely upon a sniper hitting crazy shots. They just need some consistency sometimes where they have the point. I think there's definitely a fair chance we'll see that.
And the thing that's helpful about having your Roma do it is that you don't have to change your whole team setup. You don't have to have a big team talk and say, yeah, we're playing sniper now this round, which can then lead to the other team adapting to it quite well. But rather you can just do it on the fly, and then maybe they don't quite realize it's a sniper until it's too late, and then the Meg gets headshot and this kind of thing. So it's much better to do it very flexibly instead of just committing your whole strat to it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. All right, I'm seeing our teams. Everyone's in the sub. We do see Feint already ready to go. They've readied up, just waiting on nerdRage now. It's Premiership TF2. There's always got to be something weird going on. I remember back in the day, constant issues of, Mumble servers not working, apparently, constant pauses here and there. I feel like, over the passage of time, TF2 players have got slightly better at getting the game sorted.
Yeah, they got real PCs, real internet connections for the most part. I think you're probably right about that. Although, I did play a game earlier this season where, well, firstly someone timed out, and then my medic accidentally went spec. With full bad. So that was pretty fun. Well, not naming names, of course. But,
no, it could be any medic. So are you going to be voting for him for debut of the season then?
Well, no. So this wasn't Trickster. This was a Merc. This was Olga.
Oh.
Which is
not naming names, but it was Olga though.
Yeah. So. Well, I didn't want to unfairly throw Trickster under the bus there. So, yep, it was Olga. But we're going live, eepily.
Yeah, here we go. This is second map here. First map going comfortably way of nerdRage. Product though, the Feint pick should be hopefully more comfortable for them. Definitely, if you're a Feint fan, you'll be hoping so. Cookie cutter in terms of classes. Josh going for that deep bomb. He's aggressive. He's early. He does get taken down alongside Gazzy and Nasboy. Only one singular frag on the side of nerdRage. They basically get nothing that mid, and that's it. Just like that.
Oh, and Opti gets seeds right at the end there. in spawn pretty much. That was absolutely huge play by Opti, really giving Fate a massive advantage in this round, which otherwise it would have just been, you know, a few seconds ahead. So really nicely played by him. But yeah, that mid, the aggression from the nerdRage soldiers just didn't really happen. Josh just bombed into a soldier basically and did nothing. Nasboy was pretty much not in the fight at all, whereas Mac was denying the hell out of nerdRage as they came up the slope. So very coordinated play from the explosive classes of Feint there, as they do go in for the sack now.
Yeah, we do see both the soldiers get super aggressive. They actually go for a big triple commit. It's actually 2 frags they get there and the force, which is a little bit better than they could have even hoped for, but Gazi will be a late death, and ultimately the spawners they should be up for Feint in time here. So this will be effectively just a, you know, a triple, quadruple sack, whatever. Uber's out the way, 50%-ish now for Seeds. Actually just a little bit less. Will be nerdRage trying to move up towards this point. If Feint can just keep on spamming them, keep being a little bit annoying, they can actually keep buying time here. Vanny is already on 65%. Uber does get used all the way across point. Vanny gets taken down basically immediately by Josh, and that's just really everything which nerdRage could possibly want. They can see all of these Feint players basically everywhere. Soldiers jumping everywhere, but they're just getting nowhere at all. All of nerdRage just tearing these players apart.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing that Uber is that Nasboy didn't even have to shoot Vanny once for him to die. Josh double directed him without even, I think, getting a flash, or maybe he just got one, a brief one. But so really crazy aggression. And then Nasboy came in, he had nothing to kill, so he just bombed over and killed Mac on the flank, and then, well, he died eventually. But it was a very, very nice Uber from them. They're not opting to hold Cliff here early. They will still have a 50% advantage, so I'm expecting them with this time disadvantage to try and take this in as soon as they get it. But it's a little opportunity here now for them to take some room and maybe get a force. But in fact, no, they're not doing it. Josh is going in behind. Vanny could be caught if they go in with the ad. They're going to be, using it now. Nasport onto the point. Some good damage on the scout. Vanny's going to be caught in main, surely. Yeah, and he will finally go down to Nasboy. And yeah, so pretty much, as I said, they come in with the Uber ad, and Feint just getting a little bit caught in 2 minds there. Not really sure what they wanted to do, but getting caught out by the Uber.
Yeah, little bit of a disaster. It is actually Opti on backlines alongside Credu. Credu does try and get all the way towards Seeds. Nice rocket from Hugo's. It'd be good to get a decent bit of damage, but Seeds surfs too far away now. Feint are 2 players down. They try and play towards this point. They are able to get down Nasboy, so this will be a scrappy little 4 versus 4 fight right now. Obviously, Spawn is very much in the favor of Feint, therefore they can play that little bit slower if they want. They are trying to force back everyone from the side of nerdRage. Hugo going down, though. It's going to continue to be tricky. They did get the cap in all of this. Seeds does have the Uber. He can basically use whenever. He does use exactly now. We do see Vanny going all the way towards his right side. Literally 1 HP. He manages to get into spawn. Nobody doesn't.
Wow, yeah, huge chase there from Kunu. I mean, once again, you see Josh being the one to get onto the med. Naspo was actually dead in that Uber, so he was the only one who could possibly chase, and Vanny just tanking those 2 rockets and finally dying to Kunu. If Mac had been there to deny the scout, he might have been able to save his med, but yeah, Vanny needs to be living in these Uber ad scenarios as they do try and bust through right side. Not a very good forward hold from nerdRage, but they will get a frag. A little bit scrappy here. Kunu is behind, needs to go down right now, but yeah, he's going to be spotted out and will finally go down to the scouts. And actually, with that failed forward hold attempt there from nerdRage, it's going to be a pretty nice retake from Feint. And even though Vanny has been dying, the time advantage they had at the start of the map, the round rather, means they're going to be still pretty much ahead here.
Yeah, they're ahead in terms of time. They're trying to play aggressive towards Cliff, and Gazi's just going to diddle. Mac, they even combined to pick up... Ooh. Oh, okay. So Hugo gets Seeds. They trade 3 players basically to do it. So this will be nerdRage getting control of point. Seeds with that super quick spawn, because obviously, you know, they didn't have control of point as of that time. So Vanny's got this huge Uber advantage. Time is now going to tick away for nerdRage while, you know, Feint get in a position to start moving forward. It might come down to just this one Uber push. If they can get towards point and not use this, will be fantastic. I don't think nerdRage are going to make it easy for them at all. Vanny moving up towards the left-hand side. He's going to have to use basically instantly Seeds. He's not looking to make those same mistakes. He's just all the way gone. They do get 2 frags, thankfully, for it. They can't really commit any further.
Josh still behind here. Probably will get cleaned up fairly soon if Feint are aware of it. Seeds doesn't actually have Uber right now, so they could aggress onto them, Feint, if they really want to, but Josh is delaying behind and not really too much happening from Feint in front, so, you know, it's decent. Well, the time's pretty even. Seeds has Uber out, and Josh basically needs to try and make a play to catch in Vanny if possible. He has actually hit him with a rocket, so he's trying to make some magic, and he's hiding, in fact, on Cliff, so if Vanny chooses the wrong door here, he's just going to go down instantly.
Yep, Uber does get used now. They are going to be jumping deep. Good damage.
No, he's behind in main.
This could be absolutely crushing, but somehow he gets nothing. He gets absolutely nothing there at all. nerdRage do get control of point, but this is actually possibly a GG push. Even with all of these frags, it's not really going to matter. Feint, they have way better spawns right now. They have this Uber advantage. The time is ticking down for nerdRage, but there is time. There is very much time for Feint. 90%, they're already moving towards this point. Soldier does get aggressive. We do see Josh trying to go on the back lines. He's going to be forcing off his Uber. Uber does get used all the way over this left-hand side of point. Scout has to play towards point. Cap Prime is more important than anything right now. Seed's already on 75%. Is going to make this difficult when they go for this repush. That frag towards Josh, though, really significant. Losing Mac, though, is just as bad, though. This is going to be hard. 10 seconds left on the clock. Seeds now gets his Uber. Uses immediately all the way towards point. This is actually the kind of position where they can't even just fully commit to the cap because they might just get bombed on like Hugo's doing exactly right now. He gets the damage. The cleanup not quite there. This is tricky frags pretty much everywhere. It's basically soldiers versus soldiers. Hugo has such an uphill struggle. Jesus Christ. Oh, he doesn't quite manage it. Vanny starts moving towards point. Mac basically has 0 HP. This is surely nerdRage's round.
I don't know why they're trying to block here, eepily. Oh, it's so sad. I mean, so what they should have done is taken that fight from behind the point, spam them when they got onto point, like this is Feint, let them cap and then have the better spawns, but they will try to block, which means it's never going to work if they try and block because they always have worse spawns, so they're just fighting a losing battle, basically. They had enough time, it was only 5 seconds that nerdRage needed, but that would have been enough for them, to back up, stay alive, and then kill them as they had, because nerdRage had to get on point, remember, so yeah, just a misplay right at the death there from Feint, and giving that very close first round finally to nerdRage.
Yeah, 1 round. Hard fought, though. Hard fought going into this second mid. We do see Feint taking great position all the way forward again. You can see so much damage. The scouts combined on nerdRage with 13 HP, and this is just looking fantastic. Feint get one after another, again getting seeds. And mid control is theirs. They have this Uber advantage.
Good aggression from the Feint Solis, but really here Voxy playing out of his mind. He's got the soldiers from nerdRage absolutely on lock right now. He knows exactly where they are. He's not even looking forward. He knows that that's all he has to do, deal with them, play the beam, and clean them up. And he's doing it absolutely perfectly right now.
Oh, this is big stuff as well. They're on this forward hold. Uber does get used, which is basically as much as nerdRage wanted, but it's only actually about a 40% advantage. Very quick spawns, considering obviously nerdRage don't have control of the point. They're going to want to try and bust out through main, but they don't have an Uber to play with just yet. Instead, they're going to try and rely on the raw power of the Gazi Pyro. Josh is going to lose his life. It is going to be Feint moving back all the way towards point. Right now, Feint just looking to try and delay things as much as they can. Seeds has his Uber. Josh just only coming up now. There's going to be this tiny little window now where they're just going to try and move forward. Yep, Uber gets used really early. We do see Nasvoid jumps in deep, gets Mac. That's going to be significant. That should get them control of point. But even with this remaining frag onto Credu, doesn't matter too much for Feint. They managed to get basically a minute and 15 seconds off that one initial cap, and that's very significant.
Yeah, Feint buying so much time here with a full ad pretty much. nerdRage will aggress on the cliff, trying to get this force out. They're very close, though. They could get taken down. As he will pop. Will he save Hugo? Yes, he will. But this isn't still in a great Uber of Vanny as all of nerdRage managing to get out of here, apart from Gazi. So it's going to be a decent fight now for Feint retaking the point, 6v5. Although there is some aggression from the nerdRage soldiers looking to put up a bit of a fight here. But Mac heading onto Nasboy, going to get a lot of damage onto him and pushing them all back. Some frags exchanged here pretty much, but Vanny did go down there in the back lines. I didn't see that, so it looked like a, well, I mean, it was a pretty tragic Uber pretty much from Vanny there because they just got absolutely nothing out of it, just got forced on cliffs, so the numbers advantage really winning out of the Uber advantage there, really.
Yeah, now we're seeing some more scrappy fights. Uber does get used from Seeds to pick up Credu and Mac. Not too bad. nerdRage should easily be able to take control of point. We are seeing big stuff from these nerdRage soldiers. Like you said, they're managing to just basically spend most of their life in the skybox and get onto Vanny in some very key situations. They're even trying to get aggressive now towards this left-hand side. They know Vanny's got about 25% advantage. Thing is, advantages that small on Vardak are not easy to play with at all. They want to try and move up to point. Ooh, the deep bomb. Nabi getting a little bit full of himself, but Josh is from these backlines, gets that good damage, gets taken down. Voxy fully focused on these soldiers. They know the crucial players to deal with, and that's actually really nice. They managed to get control of the point before they even get the Uber, and they get 2 frags.
Yeah, really, really nice deny there from Feint. And crucial, I mean, both the Solis went in, but they basically went one by one, and Nasboy was nowhere to be seen. So they needed that extra thing to look at, that extra spam, so the soldiers would have some space to actually make something happen. But as it happened, they basically both just fed. So not really good coordinated aggression there from nerdRage.
Well, this is actually the first position in this game where both teams are going to have the Uber. Credu does get taken down towards this flank. It is still Feint in control of the point. They're going to be going for a trade. Actually, they're going to get forced. They want to go for the trade, but Seeds is nowhere near using. This is going to be about an 80% improved Uber right now. If you lose Josh before they even manage to use, but finally gets taken down. The only frag they actually need in that Uber, and now nerdRage just going to look to pick apart the rest of these players, though. They are getting deep. They are committing all the way forward. They're actually chasing all the way into main.
Seeds are so weak.
Try and do it. They can't get him, though.
Yeah, that was crazy to live there from Seeds, just juking that scout right at the end. You thought that, I think it was Voxy had him, but not quite. But nevertheless, it was a really nice counter-aggression from Feint, and they've just been fighting them so scrappily, persistently. They've wasted so much time on this round, even though they did lose their med eventually in that fight and Seeds lived. It doesn't really matter too much, as they will be coming back in through Cliff here, and a nice deep bomb from Navi. They fight them really hard on Cliff. Voxy will go down, in fact. Vanny needs to live here, but he's going to be caught out by Gazzy, probably. It could be really, really tragic for Feint, as they will lose their med. 2 frags though on the scout, so they could re-aggress now if they... Oh, no, huge pipe though from Nasboy to deny Credu, and Matt going down as well. So that was a huge, potentially round-saving play there from nerdRage, who otherwise they were so down in time that this could have been terrible for them.
Yeah, that was actually so crucial. 13 seconds left for Feint means, you know, if they can get control of point and just hold it just for that little bit, it'll be all good. But now, it's actually a little bit scary times. They need to get this Uber out the way. Seeds just behind point, and they're just going to go all the way forward. They want to use this Uber. They know they keep catching Vanny, and they do it again. Time and time again. Every time an Uber gets used, Vanny just basically gets caught in, dies instantly. Now, player advantage, heal advantage, everything's looking good for nerdRage. After such a massive time deficit, they're actually looking just to coast their way to the round win.
Yeah, and Feint have to be kicking themselves at these plays. I mean, it's really frustrating to lose so much time by losing a med over and over again when they were just so far ahead. So they're going to be retaking point now, 1 down in fact, but they're going to be aggressive anyway. Nubby's going to go in for Vanny. So much pressure onto Vanny in all of these fights here, but Gazzy in fact will get taken down. Josh, they're all committing on nerdRage, but they're losing players, and they don't have, of course they have the points and they have worse spawners, so this is going to be a pretty free take for Feint, and completely countering that aggression means they're in a great position now to hold this round. See, it's almost having Uber, but they have to cap very, very soon.
Yeah, tricky situation. Being players down and having the Uber means they need to commit forward, but they need to cap at the exact same time, which obviously you can't really do while Ubered. They do use. Nasboy basically goes all the way over point. They're flashing just a little bit, trying to keep these scouts capping the point. Feint going for the recommit now, moving all the way across point. Mac just beasting forward and combining with his scouts. And Opti picks up like 3 or 4 there. That's just absolute nuking. And that's basically going to be the last little bit. Nubby tries to go all the way towards point. Doesn't matter, mate. Vanny's got the Uber. After some scary situations, Feint equalizing.
Yeah, really nice. So, I mean, the key thing there is basically, does the unexpected aggression from nerdRage, does it work? Does it get a wipe, or does it, like we just saw in that last one, does it lose them 3 players on the flank? And it's on a knife edge. Which one of those happens? Pretty much, it's like who gets the best bomb, or do they get denied or not? Pretty much, but that can change whole rounds pretty much.
All right, well. Another round here. We are going to be seeing aggression all the way towards the flank. Mac once again trying to take good position towards point. They have lost both Opti and Credu here, so it's going to be tricky. Yep. Ooh, nice pipe there from Mac. It's going to at least be a trade. But this is actually a mid, which is going to be firmly in the hands of nerdRage. Actually, I think the first mid that they've managed to win here.
Yeah, finally the forward aggression from Feint not really happening, and that meant that the players behind for nerdRage could just wait there, wait for their team to push them back into them, and then just collapse on Vanny, leaving as he was below Cliff, and just completely crush them. So finally, yeah, Feint in a worse position at the start of the round, and so we'll see how they want to approach, probably with a sack wave now, with Seeds playing towards house. Potentially he'll be heading into house to take cover from that, but we'll see what happens as Mac, I think, is preparing for a sack. He's going to double stick and jump in onto Seeds. Seeds' main name will force, in fact, on full HP there. Bit of a pussy pop potentially, but he did have 3 players on him. But I mean, really, you would like to see your med playing in house there. I know that Feint didn't do it when it was their turn to defend the sack wave, but it's definitely the best play as long as you can get the read on the sack wave coming in.
Yeah, definitely makes sense sometimes just to use that a little bit earlier, just because, these sig stickies can be kind of destructive sometimes. But after all of that, we are seeing Time still tick away for nerdRage. Vanny just about gets his Uber there all the way towards Cliff. They're actually going to use instantly. It's a big bomb from Mac. They try and go towards point. That big pipe towards Nasboy is going to be huge. Actually, managing to take down 2 already. Seeds once again. Characteristic massive Sir Vanny as well, keeping himself just about alive up until he doesn't. But Gazzy manages to get the frag, and he gets another onto Mac. And that is not an easy situation right now. They're actually having to delay the capping on the side of Feint in order to get all their spawns up, which is, I mean, it's good to get the spawners there faster, but now, I mean, basically all the nerdRage is up. They have the Uber. They're going to start looking to walk towards point. Like, if they free take this, it's going to be so hard for nerdRage to come back into it.
Yeah, definitely very down on time. And I mean, it's a nice idea to pop out of the last hold, but they went into the demo on Cliff as opposed to the combo, so getting not really anything. I mean, he died eventually, but they were never going to catch Seeds with that. As nerdRage retaking this point pretty much for free, although there are players in behind going to head for the Force. Josh actually will be taken down by Hugo. Hugo making a lot of space here for his team, but Voxy just going to be building on Cliff. Not too much resistance put up, really. Credit win behind, but he's just going to get taken out probably. Eventually, at least, with Gazzy cleaning him up in spawn, unless he somehow loses this 1v1, but no, he will not. Feint looking to retake the point here now, but they do have 1 spawner and 1 dead, so you know, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them, and they're kind of hesitant. Mac just sitting here waiting to go. Boxy's going to take it in now, but the Solly's aggressing onto them. He's taking it over, but his scout isn't with him, so he doesn't really want to do it. They're umming and ahhing here on point, and they're going to take so much damage, and Mac is finally going to go down. Oh, it's an absolute tragedy here from Feint eepily.
Yeah, that is just absolutely crushing, and in the end, Vanny just basically has to use. Like, he has to use to keep his scouts alive. They're going to get towards point. They basically get no cap time at all. And you see these huge rockets from Josh. It's basically just going to nuke both these soldiers down. They're going to get 2 frags. They're nowhere near using Uber at this point. Seeds basically has taken 40 damage that entire time. And this is just a brutal round here for nerdRage. They continue this pressure, and Feint are just starting to fall apart a little bit now. They're basically trying to go for anything, everything which could possibly work. They get 3 frags. Uber does get used. Seeds does try and commit with the rest of his team. They pick up Voxy and Mac. Vanny, he's basically still in the spawn. He's just only spawned basically by himself right now. But there's 7 seconds left on the clock. Feint need to just get on point.
Yeah, they do. With spawners and nerdRage, they do have a chance to make a good, decent fight here, but Hugo's so weak, and will be taking him down. In fact, all the players on Feint just running up to the point here. Completely, I mean, it's not going to happen for them, I don't think. Kunu's cleaning everyone up, you know, they're just charging in for see if they can make anything happen. But yeah, that was a pretty tragic round from Feint, pretty much. nerdRage looking particularly dominant once they did take the mid, so yeah, hopefully that's not too, you know, that's not putting them too far out of the game, as I do think Feint can get back into this, but they really need to be getting the reads pretty well on. At the moment, Vanny's been dying to a lot of Ubers, and Seeds has barely been dying to any, so that needs to change if they're going to get back into this.
Yeah, it feels like a similar story to last map, honestly, as well. As just a little bit of maybe miscoordination or something, which is just hurting Vanny a lot. We do see Feint going for an aggressive mid. It is actually the nerdRage soldiers combined to pick up Vanny. Seeds playing all the way far back with the rest of his team, losing 3 players. They're going to play the Uber advantage. Feint will be winning this mid. They're fairly weak in terms of their players. They will be getting this initial cap, though, but it will be Seeds with that 70% advantage. They're going to be looking to basically walk back in immediately. They're going to get their buffs, get their players, start moving towards this point. Once again, a situation for nerdRage where if they can free take, they'll be looking so happy.
Yeah, definitely. There's just no health on anyone from Feint right now. They can't even put up any denial over point, so nerdRage taking it pretty much for free. Mac now taking some room over point, but they could get Ubered onto. Vanny is very close here. Kuna's going to take it over and get onto Mac. Mac's very weak. Actually, will be able to almost get out here. He's going to get focused down, but Vanny will live because of that sort of clumsy kill onto Max, so not a very good chase this time from nerdRage, and perhaps that could be the difference, which is going to let Feint get back into this round.
Quite possibly, yeah, quite possibly. Josh is basically getting all the way aggressive towards this left-hand side, basically trying to damage people all the way in spawn. This is a fort hold on the side of nerdRage. We do see Nasboy doing fantastic work towards Cliff. They will bust all the way through. Oh, that's huge from Mac Gazzy and Nasboy both sent into the spawn queue. He even stops to type the lol in chat. They move towards point. Both these nerdRage soldiers once again trying to get towards Vanny. He doesn't want to use, but he absolutely has to. The timing's too good. They get control of point. They use this Uber. Advantage for Seeds, but these spawners are going to come back up, and there's going to be more fighting in any second.
Nasboy a little bit mad there to have been styled on by Mac, but That's right, as they will be heading through left side. They're going to pop through just like Feint did, but in fact they get juggled really hard by Mac again. Opti will go down there on the flank, so Feint just having to leave here pretty much, and Boxy might even go down to this bomb, and yeah, that's pretty tragic there, as in fact there's some good counter-aggression by Mac onto point, but Feint just need to live right now. It's only Mac and Vanny, and they're heading out. And
Ooh, scary times. Gaz is actually basically spawned. He went all the way through main into spawn and just takes down Vanny, and they get Mac. So, right, Eames, talk to me right now. How does it keep happening? How is that even possible? How are they not aware of these flanking opportunities? They can't keep losing Vanny. This is the round that means everything. And a death that late is just going to be brutal. nerdRage have control of point. They have their buffs. They have this Uber advantage. Fate are trying to go off Uber. They're starting to get picked apart, though. Look how much damage has been dealt.
I mean, Voxy was dead was the problem, really, as, this, it's extremely scrappy now from Feint, but they're losing their scouts once again. Navi coming in behind, looking to pick up Vanny, but nice air shot from Hugo. Both of them will go down. Vanny could just about live. Yes, he's going to get all the way back into spawn, but it's looking really, really strong for nerdRage right now, and in fact, there's so little time left for them, and then full Uber ad, this could be pretty much the end of this best of 3 here.
Yeah, pretty much. We're actually seeing almost the entirety of nerdRage just trying to get towards the Fate spawn. Absolutely zero respect. Uber does get used. I mean, there's still a minute in it in terms of nerdRage's cap, so it's not all for nothing right now. Fate are going to move towards this right-hand side. They have like 75% ad. It's another situation where maybe they can try and get in. Gazzy's actually all the way behind. Surely he's not going to pull off a classic Gazzy flank. He gets in directly onto Vanny. Uber does get used anyway. The threat of the bombing soldier was enough. They know there's 2 of these nerdRage players all the way behind. They need to start moving towards point. They need to cap. They need to take a decent position. Seeds, only 50%. There is an opportunity, but nerdRage, they don't care about the Uber. They're trying to commit right now, and they're absolutely combining to annihilate the entirety of Fate right now. It's just going to be scrappy fights, and this is just looking so good for nerdRage.
The flank aggression is far too strong from nerdRage here at the moment, as they're always just making so much room and so many things that Feint have to turn around and look at, that even, Gazzy gets the fourth there, gets a very, very poor Uber once again from Feint, as they haven't picked up seeds, I don't think, a single time from these, and now they have full ad here to defend this point, and Mac will go down to Nasboy, so it's looking like curtains here for Feint pretty much, as they all just collapse onto point, every player going down, and this is pretty much it. 3-1 for nerdRage, so that's a 2 maps victory pretty cleanly in this best of 3. 3-1 in fact on both maps, so a nice win for nerdRage to take them into the grand finals.
Yeah, I think if you're on the side of nerdRage, you're going to be pretty happy with that. They definitely had pretty dominating games throughout. Even though there was a round they lost on both maps, they were constantly, it felt, in the driver's seat. Snakewater, they were pretty happy, and for so much of this VAR, they were just able to make these plays work. Looking so good for them. Obviously, like we said, Feint was playing with a Merc, so this isn't technically the roster at their full strength, so I'm sure there's still going to be a lot more to see from them as they do get knocked down into that lower bracket. They will be against top 5 after this, and then potentially if they can win that, they will be meeting nerdRage again in the grand finals. But let's take a moment, let's take a breather, let's relax a second. Look at some of the older stats from Vida, because I'm interested in some of these scout frags. I saw a lot from Moralexi that game.
Yep, scout frag's pretty high from him, as we did talk about beforehand, and crucially as well, only 8 deaths from him, whereas so and that's pretty much very linked to Caesar's death, which is only 4. Caesar was basically never dying when Kunu was alive, and maybe occasionally dying when he was dead. But Vanny, meanwhile, was on 15, so a huge difference there. And that's pretty much the tail of this map is in one way, between the combos is the reading of things. And none of the Ubers from Feint were really getting anything. And whereas the flank coming in from nerdRage were able to, just delay their Ubers, force them, go behind, kill the rest of Feint's flank. And, we never ever saw any of these kinds of bombs going deep and catching seeds out. So that was pretty much the difference maker, I think.
Yeah, it is crazy. People talk about Viaduct and how, some people look at Viaduct and say it's just a kind of DM get frags type situation, but so much of the time it comes down to the heal advantage and playing the Ubers, and just any situation where a medic is dying 4 times more, basically, in the opposing medic. It's such a significant issue to try and work with. And you can see, the stats from the Feint soldiers, they were just trying what they could. When you're playing from the back foot, it is so difficult play soldier on Viaduct, you're just constantly against just brick walls. Definitely, yeah, things were not looking too hot for them. But you know, on the plus side, they have some things to work on before they possibly fight them again.
Yeah, true. And though it is a little bit mean to point out another ray of hope for Faint is that Credo did have a tough map again this time. And usually, I think from what I've seen, Yeehaw does pretty good on product. So once again, the synergy potentially lacking there. As we did see, I mean, the main difference really, well, I mentioned this thing about the combo, but that was more a function of the fact that nerdRage's flank most of the time were able to make a lot out of a lot of different situations. You know, going behind, making plays on Vanny, just making chaos. Whereas, yeah, so suffice to say that they'll probably be feeling, you know, a little bit hopeful at least that when their talisman Yeehaw rises from the ashes of his of the campfire from his camping trip, that, you know, they'll be able to make some kind of comeback there.
Yeah, definitely. This is most certainly not the last that we've seen from Faint. So definitely will be interesting to see how things go going forward. I don't believe we have any interviews planned for today. I will give people just a couple of minutes just to scream and shout if they so wish, but if not, we can start to wrap things up fairly swiftly here tonight.
Yeah, I guess so. That's pretty tragic about the interviews, but all right.
What can you do, you know? What can you do? What can you do? It is what it is. You know, I guess people sometimes, you know, video games aren't everything. Sometimes, you know, people want to take a breath, take a step outside. I don't know. Open your curtains, make your bed, do stuff like that, okay? It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, this is going to be it then. nerdRage solidifying their position right now. They're a top seed. They're already in the grand finals, looking very, very happy moving forward. And of course, Faint, we'll be seeing them next against the all-powerful top 5 Rocket, the Frenchies as they're so often known. So that will be coming up shortly. Obviously, keep tuned to TFTV, Twitter, and the actual website and all stuff like that. And I'm sure, you know, there'll be information about when those games will be happening. But I guess all that's left is just to do a couple shout outs a second. Eemes, give me a shout out, buddy.
I don't really have any, to be honest. Shout out to, you know, my team from this season. And shout out to Yeehaw for his camping trip.
Shout out to Yeehaw and his camping trip. Yeah. Shout out to viewers. Shout out to Eskimo for being a lovely gamer. Shout out obviously to Harris for being our producer here. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. We'll catch you all next time.